Your 20s are the most confusing financial decade of your life. On one hand, you are technically an adult, but on the other hand, you look around at other people your age, and it feels like everyone else got a manual that you missed. You see your friends from college leasing $50,000 cars. You see them booking trips to Europe on Instagram. You see them moving into luxury apartments in the city. And because you are human, you start to panic. You think, I work hard, I'm making decent money. Why does my bank account feel so tight while they are living like kings? So, to deal with that stress, you tell yourself the classic 20s lie. You think, I'm only 25, I'm supposed to be having fun. I have 40 years to worry about saving. This is the decade for experiences, right? I know that voice. I listen to it too. It feels like you are being optimistic, but mathematically, you are digging a hole you might never climb out of. Because here's the truth about your 20s that nobody tells you until you turn 30. This is the only decade where time is truly on your side. Every dollar you waste in your 20s isn't just a dollar gone. It is hundreds of dollars stolen from your future self because you killed the compound interest before it could even start. But instead of investing, most of us use our 20s to buy golden handcuffs. We get that first promotion, and what do? We immediately upgrade a car, we upgrade the apartment, we upgrade a lifestyle. We spend our entire 20s trying to look wealthy, which is exactly what prevents us from becoming wealthy. By the time you hit 30, you look successful on paper, but you are trapped, you can't quit, you can't pivot, you are owned by your bills. If that feeling of earning more but keeping less sounds familiar, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, not just for the algorithm, but as a commitment to yourself that you are done drifting. And in the comments, I want to know your reality. What is the one expense that makes you feel most trapped right now? Is it your rent, your car payment, or just the cost of existing? Let me know below. Now let's fix this. Most advice tells you to start with stocks or real estate. That is wrong. Because before you can invest, you need a machine that produces capital. That brings us to the first and most misunderstood purchase of your career. Now let's talk about the first thing you need to buy. And honestly, this is where most people get cheap, and it costs them a fortune. You need to buy leverage. Here is the trap most of us fall into after graduation. We think our education is finished. You have the degree. You have the student loans to prove it. So you think the learning part is over and the earning part begins? That mindset is dangerous. In the modern economy, a college degree is a depreciating asset. What you learned 4 years ago is already becoming obsolete. If you are relying solely on a piece of paper you got at 22 to keep you employed at 35, you are making a massive gamble. I know what you are thinking right now, but I'm busy. I work 50 hours a week. And besides, there's plenty of free stuff on YouTube. Why should I pay for it? Here is why. Free information creates zero commitment. When you watch a free video, you are browsing. When you spend $1,000 on a certification, a boot camp, or a serious coaching program, you are investing. You have skin in the game. You show up differently. This purchase isn't about collecting diplomas. It's about buying the ability to demand more money. Whether it is data, analytics, advanced sales, negotiation, or learning a new tech stack, you are buying a skill that the market is desperate for. Think about the ROI, return on investment. If you spend $2,000 on a course today and it helps you negotiate a $10,000 raise next year, that is a 500% return. You cannot get that in the stock market. You cannot get that in real estate. But more importantly, skills are your insurance policy against the thing every corporate employee fears. The layoff when the economy tightens and companies start cutting heads. Who stays? The person who just does the job description, or the person who has stacked so many valuable skills that they are impossible to replace? Stop waiting for your company to train you. That is the employee mindset. Start treating your brain like a business. If you aren't reinvesting in your own R&D, don't be surprised when you become obsolete. So, before you buy the index funds, buy the skill that feeds the funds. Once you have the skills to generate income, you need a place to put that money where it can actually work. And no, a savings account paying 0.5% interest is not working. That is, losing money safely. You need to buy a time machine. In financial terms, we call these index funds. specifically inside a tax-advantaged account like a Roth IRA or your company's 401k. Here's the mistake most professionals make. They treat investing as something they will do once they have enough money left over. But let's be real. In the American lifestyle, there is never money left over. You have to treat investing like a subscription bill, like your Netflix, like your rent. It needs to leave your account the day you get paid, because if you see it, you will spend it. And here's why this is urgent. Let's look at the math of waiting. If you start investing $500 a month into the S&P 500 at age 25, you could have over $1 million by retirement. But if you wait until you are 35 to start, just a 10-year delay, you don't just end up with a little less, you end up with half. To catch up, you wouldn't need to invest $500. You would need to invest nearly $1,500 a month just to hit the same number. That is the cost of procrastination. Waiting doesn't just cost you time, it makes your future life 3 times more expensive. Also, a quick reality check for anyone working a corporate job. If your company offers a 401k match and you are not contributing enough to get it, you are literally working for free. That match is part of your salary. If you don't claim it, you are voluntarily handing your boss back a portion of your paycheck. Don't do that. So, set up the auto transfer. Buy the S&P 500. It is boring, it is unsexy, and it is the only way to ensure that when you stop working, your income doesn't stop with you. Now, we need to talk about the purchase that destroys more financial futures than anything else in America. We need to talk about your car. If you work in a corporate office, you know the pressure. You walk through the parking lot and you see the BMWs, the Teslas, the brand new SUVs. It signals status. It signals, I am doing well. And driving an old beat-up sedan feels embarrassing. It feels like you are falling behind, so you go to the dealership. The salesperson asks you the most dangerous question in finance. How much of a monthly payment can you afford? You do the math. You think, I can handle $600 a month. That's reasonable for a reliable car, right? Wrong. That $600 car note is not just a payment, it is a ball and chain. When you factor in full covered insurance, gas, maintenance, and the brutal depreciation that happens the second you drive off the lot, that car is costing you $900 to $1,000 a month. Think about that. You are working the first week of every month just to pay for the machine that gets you to work. Here's the mindset shift you need to buy mobility, not status. Your car has one job: to get you from point A to point B safely. That's it. It does not need to impress your coworkers. They are paying your bills. It does not need to look good on Instagram. Every dollar you spend on a car is a dollar that creates zero freedom. In fact, it steals it. That's $600 monthly payment. If you invested it instead of giving it to a dealership, that is $600,000 in your retirement account over 30 years. So swallow your pride, buy the 5-year-old Toyota, buy the boring Honda, drive it until the wheels fall off. This next purchase is the one you'll try to skip because in your 20s you feel invincible. You can sleep 4 hours, eat takeout at your desk, stare at a screen for 10 hours, and still show up to work the next day. In corporate America, we wear that exhaustion like a badge of honor. We call it the grind. That is a lie, and it is an expensive one. You need to stop viewing health as a lifestyle choice and start viewing it as maintenance costs for your primary asset. Think about it. You are the machine that generates the income. If you put garbage fuel into a high-performance engine, eventually the engine seizes in your career. That is called burnout. And burnout is the single most expensive event that can happen to you. It costs you promotions. It kills your creativity. It forces you to take unpaid leave. So, purchase number 4 is the biological battery. This means you stop feeling guilty about spending money on your body. Spending $150 a month on a gym membership isn't a luxury. It's preventative maintenance. Spending extra money on high-quality food instead of the $5 fast food value meal isn't trading yourself. It's buying fuel that doesn't make you crash at 2 p.m. Buying a quality mattress so you actually sleep 7 hours? That is a performance enhancer. You cannot build wealth if your brain is constantly running on 10% battery. The most successful people aren't just the smartest. They are the ones with the stamina to stay in the game long enough to win. Don't let your body become the bottleneck of your success. Now let's talk about the purchase that changes your personality. It is called cash margin, but in the finance world, it has a much more colorful name. F***, money. Here is a terrifying statistic. Nearly 60% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency expense without going into debt. This fragility is why people stay in toxic jobs. When you have $0 in the bank, you are terrified of your boss. You tolerate the disrespect, the unpaid overtime, and the abuse because you need that next paycheck to survive. Your boss owns you. You need to buy your freedom back. This means saving 3 to 6 months of bare-bones living expenses, usually between $15,000 and $25,000. Put it in a high-yield savings account. Do not touch it. Do not invest it. This money is not for spending. It is for psychological warfare. When you have 6 months of expenses sitting in the bank, the power dynamic shifts. You don't make decisions out of fear anymore. If your car transmission blows up, it isn't a financial tragedy that ruins your year. It is just an annoying transaction. If your company announces layoffs, you don't panic. You start looking for a better opportunity. And if a boss crosses the line, you have the power to look them in the eye and say no, because you know you can walk away and be fine. Cash margin turns life's disasters into mere inconveniences. And that peace of mind, it is priceless. Most Americans treat travel as a luxury escape. You work 51 weeks a year just to spend 1 week at an all-inclusive resort in Cancun, drinking away the stress of your job. That is not an investment. That is just sedation. Purchase number 6 is different. You need to buy perspective. Here's the problem with living in the us corporate bubble. You start to believe that the standard American path is the only path. You believe that paying $3,000 for a 1-bedroom apartment is normal. You believe that working until 7 p.m. is mandatory. You need to buy a plane ticket to a place that breaks that model. Go to Lisbon. Go to Mexico City. Go to Southeast Asia. Don't stay in a hotel. Stay where the locals go, the digital nomads. Leave. Why? Because you need to see geo-arbitrage in action. You need to see people who earn half your salary but have a quality of life that is twice as good as yours. You need to realize that the expensive, high-stress life you are fighting to maintain in New York or San Francisco is just one option. It is not the only option. This exposure destroys fear. It is hard to feel trapped by your job when you know for a fact that you could move to a lower-cost city, work remotely, and live like a king for $2,000 a month. Travel doesn't just give you cool photos. It gives you optionality. And once you realize the world is bigger than your office cubicle, the golden handcuffs unlock themselves. Finally, we need to talk about the biggest line item in your budget: housing. If you live in New York, San Francisco, or any major hub, you know the pain. You are likely spending 40% to 50% of your take-home pay on rent. And rent is technically 100% interest. You pay it, and you never see that money again. Naturally, the American dream tells you to buy a house. But be careful. Buying a big suburban house with a white picket fence isn't always an asset. Often, it is a massive liability that makes you house poor. Instead, purchase number 7 is the rent killer. This concept is called house hacking. In your 20s and early 30s, don't buy the dream home yet. Buy a property that other people help you pay for. This could be a duplex, where you live in one side and rent out the other. Or it could be a 3-bedroom condo where you get 2 roommates to cover the mortgage. I know having roommates at 28 isn't sexy, but do the math. If your roommates cover 70% of your mortgage, you have essentially eliminated your biggest living expense. While your friends are drowning in $3,000 rent checks, you are living almost for free and building equity. This is the ultimate cheat code. When you delete your housing cost, your savings rate explodes. You can max out your 401k, fund your business, or travel without stress. Now, I need to warn you about the hardest part of this entire strategy. The math is easy. The psychology is brutal, because once you start making these 7 purchases, something uncomfortable is going to happen. You are going to look boring. While your friends are upgrading to luxury SUVs, you are driving a paid-off Honda. While they are posting stories from $200 brunches every Sunday, you are meal prepping at home, While they are moving into the IT building downtown, you are house hacking in a quiet neighborhood. To the outside world, it will look like you are falling behind. People will ask, "You have a good job. Why are you living so cheaply?" They might even joke that you're being stingy. That social pressure, the pressure to keep up with the Joneses, breast real. But here's the secret the Joneses won't tell you. The Joneses are broke. Most people you see signaling success are financing it. They are trading their future freedom for present-day applause. When you choose not to play that game, you will feel awkward. You will feel a little lonely. You have to accept that you are opting out of the status competition. But remember this, you are accepting a short-term hit to your ego for a long-term win for your life. You are looking poor for a few years so you can be truly rich for the rest of your life. That is a trade worth making. At the end of the day, this was never really about money. Money is just a measuring stick. What these 7 purchases actually buy you is something far more valuable. Flexibility. Most people don't end up trapped in jobs they hate because they made one terrible mistake. They end up trapped because they made a series of reasonable purchases that slowly hardened into a cage. A little more rent, a slightly nicer car, a few more subscriptions, and one day you wake up and realize your entire life is already spoken for before you even get out of bed. The people who are truly free aren't just lucky. They just bought different things. They bought skills. They bought time. They bought margin. They bought the ability to say no to a bad boss, to take a break, or to change direction without panic. So, before you buy the next thing, ask yourself one simple question. Is this purchase buying me more room to move, or is it just decorating my cage? If you want to keep pulling on these threads and building a life with options, hit that subscribe button. And in the comments, tell me, which of these 7 purchases are you going to make this month? I'll see you in the next one.